Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Camera Tuesday, we're gonna talk about Panasonic Lumix S5. So let's dive right into it. Well, first thing you have to understand, this is a 24 megapixel shooter. So basically this is a medium range kind of camera, and this has one unique feature which has dual native ISO. The first thing you have to understand, most cameras generally have one electrical ISO circuit, and every time you change ISO, you are just changing the gain. Basically you are basically recording level is the same, you are just upping the +5 or -5. So that gives them a certain advantage is a circuit that is designed to be jack of all trades. It's not good in low light, nor it's very good in bright sunlight scenario, so because the highlight will be like burnt off. So having a dual ISO gives them a certain advantage, meaning they can build one circuit which is like, dude, your job is to handle highlights. So if you are doing broad daylight shooting or outdoor shooting, if this sensor would be like, awesome, I got this, the electrical circuit is awesome. But here's the, if you use that puppy at night, it will barely do anything because it is expecting a lot of light. So having a second ISO circuit which is independent, physically independent circuit, it's like, yeah, I got this. It's only made for low light. So if you use the low light circuit at daytime, it's gonna oversaturate. If you use basically bright one at night, you will not able to see it. That's why having two native ISO is very important. So this puppy has that. Now be mindful, this is not a new thing. Even Sony a7S III has that, and many video cameras have this. This is not a new thing, but surprisingly new addition at this price range. This can do 4K, which many camera can do 10-bit. Very few camera can do at 4:2. So it is very important, specifically if you want to do green screening, a lot of CG element, or you want to do large scale content delivery. This is a really good, useful thing. Then it has flip out screen. Now flip out screen is a really requirement for nowadays. Flat out, it's like to just give a flip out screen, because if you don't want flip out screen, you can easily close it, you never need to use it. But if you want to have it, it's better to have it. So flip out screen, that's also awesome. So this is what we are talking about. It's a $2000 camera. Now this camera is focused at hybrid market. It's not focused for only video or only photo. And Panasonic has certain advantages, specifically given the fact that they were very early on mirrorless. They have been experimenting with IBIS for a very long time, and their IBIS is damn good. You will not complain about their IBIS system. Now because they have been iteratingly polishing their equipment, they also have USB-C power delivery. Now one thing you have to understand, USB-C power delivery is a very large standard which has like voltage as high as 20 volts, as 5 amps. Why is that? Well, power delivery was designed to charge laptops, so it can pump up to 100 watts. So if your power brick says power delivery standard, does not mean it can pump out that much power. Power delivery system, it's gonna communicate properly. So if you have a delivery system which can pump upwards of 30 watts of power, that's awesome, because at that point it will be running on USB directly, no questions asked. But what happens if, let's say, power brick is not that powerful, let's say it's only 25 watts, no problem. If it's 25 watts, it will slowly drain the battery, so basically you're gonna get extended runtime. So it's quite kind of awesome. Dual card slot, which was very seriously missing in very early releases of basically Canon and Nikon. They have solved that. So even if you are getting only a $2000 camera, you still have the reliability of dual card slot, which is, trust me, you do not want to learn what happens if you lose an important shot because a card died, so or got corrupted. Things like that happen. It's a real thing. That's why even servers have dual hard drives. So quite awesome. Good ergonomics, because Panasonic really put effort into releasing their camera, so they are much better than Sony. So good ergonomics. Touchscreen, so touchscreen is not just like touch to focus, is better than Sony, and not compared to Sony a7S III, but everything else. And it has high resolution mode, meaning, think of it this way, your camera pixel is generally black and white, it cannot do anything other than that. So it has a bare filter on top of it. What does that mean? That simply means you're getting 1/4 the resolution what you were promised, because that pixel site, it's only receiving one information, red. How much red is that? That's all it can tell. It cannot tell, okay, at this location red is this much, green is this much, blue is this much. So what does it do? It calculates it. So having an IBIS allows them the ability to physically move the actual chip. Benefit of that, they can composite an image which has every pixel has an actual information. No, at this location green was this much, at this location red was this much, at this location blue was this much. Benefit of that, true image you get. So the 96 megapixel image you can get. And Panasonic has been really good with that, and this time they are also giving you raw output, so you can even fine-tune it in post-production if you need to. Now, everything is so far is quite awesome, but here's the deal. This camera is weird. As in, Panasonic, please learn before you close your camera division. They are still giving you unreliable autofocus. Flat out, its autofocus is much worse than last one simply because it's good enough where you're like, hey, I'm gonna trust it. But it's like when you actually start to use it or move forward and backward, it's like, nope. So it's better than everything else Panasonic has, but still contrast detection is tangibly like, dude, seriously. At this point in time, even a red cinema camera is giving autofocus that might actually be better than yours. So it's like, dude, just it's like every Tom, Dick, and Harry from last 5 years review is always the same. If Panasonic improve their autofocus, they will be amazing. If Panasonic improve their autofocus, they will be mind blowing. If their Panasonic improves their autofocus, they will destroy the every other company. Flat out, they have not done that, and I seriously flat out just for this alone, like don't even think about Panasonic. And they have 10-bit, which is awesome, but it has 30-minute recording limit. Why in 30-bit? Now people might say it is because of overrating, but at that point it should have like 30-minute plus until it overheats, because at that meaning if you are shooting a scene in a, let's say, basically air conditioned room, like an interview setup, awesome, your camera will keep doing it. But if it overheats, it's going to give you a warning, and that might is like, okay, give it time to shut down and relax. So that 30-minute recording limit is really odd, and it's in 10-bit, so that's really odd. So technically it's only a what you call 8-bit camera, like normal A7S III. So what about 60 frames per second? Here's the deal, that also has a very weird limit, meaning it's gonna crop the hell out of it. Basically it's gonna make an APS-C camera out of that. Why the heck you paid for full frame again? So that's the whole thing, that it has like weird crop in 60 frames per second. Can't do basically 4:2 at 10-bit. Yes, that's also it can't do. It can do 10-bit, but 4:0. So again, minor issues, but it's like, why? Like this minor things, why? So it's very weird. 30-minute recording limit, and you have to buy a external recorder to get that 6K raw. But here's the deal, the micro HDMI port, you're gonna break at least 5-6 cable of that. And not to mention, this camera is very cheap. It will not be cheap if you have to add cost of other equipments. So reality is very odd, and that it does not have all eye recordings. What is it? Canon is like, that is really weird. And people do all eye recording not for quality reasons, they do it just so their editing is much easier and much more comfortable. So it's like, why? So these weird limits is like always like Panasonic, do I really need to recommend it? So, and you have to understand this, whenever we are talking about interchangeable lens camera, we are talking about a system. We are not talking about just one thing done. You are talking about a camera, you are talking about lenses, you are talking about flashes, you are talking about batteries. All these things are major investment. You may not think about it, but if you are running, let's say, even a wedding photography shop where it's like, okay, people come and I do this, without you realizing it, you will have like, dude, I have like $1,000 of batteries alone. So these things matter. So camera market is shrinking. What does that mean? That simply means companies are no longer making profit. Camera market has crossed its threshold. Basically it peaked and now it's dead. So peak was like around 2010, they were selling 121 million units. That was like awesome. But 2017 it is like around 25 million, and here's the deal, it's continuously going down. What does that mean? That simply means company will soon close their doors. Like, dude, I cannot keep selling product. Like, company have to sell millions of these to make sense, and if total sale is barely that much, you can understand that if flat out companies are reaching a point where it's like closed doors. So big companies, they took longer, but they will close eventually. For example, Olympus closed door very recently. Samsung, such a giant company, and they once they released the NX lineup, they were really good, but they're like, dude, mobile has more profit, close the door. Kotak, everybody knows the same thing. So reality is, at this point in time, there are only 3 major players, and the reason why I'm not counting Panasonic and Fuji is simply because their system is not penetrate the market deep enough. Yes, it's a luxury camera. Yes, they are cool cameras. It's same as Leica. So if I'm in India, the likelihood of me finding a Fuji shop is very little. What does that mean? That simply means if I have a charger problem, which I had recently, charger fried itself, so I had to buy a new charger. Here's the, if it was anything other than these 3 companies, good luck me. So reality is, that is a very big deal when you are buying equipment. It's like, can I get the support for it? Can I get third-party support for it? So Nikon, Canon, and these 2 companies, while they are so huge, they are also going down with the ship, simply because even though they're diversified, their company stock value has been continuously downscaling for past 5 years, not 1 year, not 2 years, 5 years, which means at some point investors would be like, you know what, I'm out. I'm gonna take whatever remaining value I have, I'm gonna take it out of it. So that is very close. And Nikon, if I'm not mistaken, they have been bought by Mutsushima, so that corporation could be like, hold on like for a few more years, but the reality is the market has crossed this peak, so it's not gonna get better. So they might close doors, or they have to drastically cut down cost. So Nikon is in bad situation. Canon, while they jumped into printer division, and printer division is making a lot of money, but their overall stock value, it's not growing. And the fact that they are pissing off their own customer by their own actions, it's not gonna go well. They are not Apple. Only Apple can do that. Sony is doing well because they had a very bad 2008 and all that jazz, but their semiconductor division slowly started to rise from the ashes. That happened. What does that mean? That simply means they are now the backbone manufacturer for almost every mobile camera, from iPhone also. So flat out, Sony is in a position where the semiconductor division is solid, their stock market is growing, and their A series lineups is slowly starting to get market traction. Be mindful, Sony is a new puppy, and this has displaced Nikon already. Canon is at 45% market share. Sony is at 28. Nikon is less than that. So Sony magically came and somehow it in second position. At their current rate of growth, they might displace Canon. Not quickly. It's gonna take time because people have lens, and lens is like, holding you on to use the system. But it could happen. It's at this point I can see that, wow, if Sony does few good steps from going onwards, yeah, they can actually cause. And not to mention, Canon is not making profit. So that is why system matters. And this ecosystem, as in Panasonic ecosystem, is really not that good. Flat out, the support system is just not good. It's not like whoa. And if Panasonic came out like a full frame camera with basically proper autofocus, they could have become the next Sony, but they did not. And still, every Tom, Dick, and every single video review, every single person is like, just fix the goddamn autofocus. So reality is, I do not see much potential in Panasonic, and the lineup is not ready. And when I talk about lens, you're like, okay, I have the lens it wants, but here's the lenses are sold in multiple categories, multiple price categories, like 70 to 200, f4 or f2.8, cheap one, a medium one, or super expensive one. That is the crucial aspect. Sony has the biggest lineup at this point in mirrorless. Canon and Nikon you have the luxury of buying the older ones, basically with adapters and all that jazz. So they have option. All these three puppy have options, but Panasonic does not have that option. Even though L mount alliances, and the moment you take Leica lenses, you're like, yeah, I can buy a Lamborghini, that's cheaper. So the reality is, the system is not in a place where I'm like, okay, go buy. If you have more than enough money, if you can like afford to like lose money in the system over a long period of time, it's like, dude, every photograph I sell is worth more than this. Yeah, go enjoy it at that scenario. But if you're not like that, I would say stay away from this puppy. So this was my presentation on Panasonic Lumix S5. Hopefully you liked it, learned from it. In that case, please hit the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment, and please leave a comment because I try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.